In this hour, with Trump intensifying his trade war with our allies, our friends up north, Canada. As Americans continue to grapple with the ongoing affordability crisis, Trump's policies are again threatening to drive the prices we pay even higher. Trump, who loves to talk about Canada becoming a U.S. state, posted that Canada wanted, quote, the benefits of being a state without being one. They have also charged our great farmers for many years massive amounts of tariffs. No more. Comes after Canada said Saturday it would match dollar for dollar Trump's new 50% tariffs that went into effect after trade talks fell apart on Friday. Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney said his country had been, quote, attacked by the new American tariffs.
In recent days, the United States proposed new terms that were uneconomic, unfair, and undermined the net benefits for Canada and called into question the reliability of any deal. In short, they asked too much and they offered too little. You're at war when you get attacked. We got attacked.
Falling deeper into a trade war would hit you at home hard, passing on higher prices to consumers already frustrated by higher costs from President Trump's war with Iran. Canada's dollar-for-dollar retaliation would take effect on September 8th, the day after Labor Day, targeting things like American steel, dairy, appliances, and agricultural equipment. Joining us now is Congressman Brendan Boyle of Pennsylvania, the ranking Democrat on the House Budget Committee. Congressman, thank you so much for joining us. I want to read out to people what might be impacted by the Canadian products impacted by U.S. tariffs, because folks may not know what we even share with each other. Wood products, there's 36 kinds of plywood, beer, wine, and spirits, dairy products, clothing, and textiles, and jewelry, and even more specific items. I'm not even going to try to read the first word on there because I don't know what that is. The next are capes, cloaks, tracksuits, national flags, wigs, all right, drag queens are going to be very upset, false beards and eyebrows, ice and field hockey equipment. These are all specific items that would be impacted. When you hear that the president is going into another trade war with another ally after failing to get some negotiations, and also let's not forget the USMCA existed. It was supposed to be, it was a trade deal that he himself in 2018, I want to say 2019, signed between the United States, Mexico, and Canada. And yet here we are at war, as Mark Carney put it, in a trade war with our allies.
Yeah, I just want to level set, and given the breadth and depth of the list of products you showed there, this might not be a surprise for people to learn that for all of the attention and all the time that gets showered on China as it relates to trade, Canada is actually a larger trading partner for the United States than China is. In fact, Canada is our single largest market for U.S. exports. The reality is the sort of economic damage that will be done to the United States by having a trade war with the country that is our number one market for the goods that we produce and export, this is going to be massive. Overall, in terms of both exports and imports, China is by far the second largest trading partner the United States has. Only Mexico is slightly larger. So this is a trade war in which both sides will lose and lose badly. And at a time in which the American economy is really teetering on recession, this is the kind of thing that actually could push us over the edge.
Congressman, while Trump is ratcheting up the trade war with Canada, he is also temporarily easing U.S. beef tariffs, irking cattle producers. This is according to Reuters. Trump is going to sign an executive order that will expand the amount of ground beef that can enter the U.S. with lower import tariffs, and it'll be in effect for 90 days. This move has incurred criticism from the Republican Party. Two senators, Senator Deb Fischer from Nebraska and Senator Tim Sheehy of Montana. Deb Fischer said on Friday that we all want lower grocery prices, but as I've said for months, we cannot do it at the expense of American producers. Flooding the market with foreign beef hurts our livestock industry and undermines the long-term solution. Growing the U.S. cattle herd to meet demand. Is easing beef tariffs something that Democrats support? And if not, what are the ways in which Democrats feel that you can all immediately lower grocery store prices for Americans right now?
Yeah, I can't help but note the irony that Donald Trump is sticking it the most to the very people who voted for him just 2 years ago. You know, overall, the Donald Trump tariff taxes have been a disaster. When you take them, not just on beef, but in aggregate, these are the largest tariffs that we have faced in almost a century. The last time tariffs were this large, of course, was the Great Depression. And it is seen as one of the major causes of that Great Depression. So Donald Trump economics has been a disaster for the American consumer. And the quickest way that we can bring down costs certainly at the grocery stores, but then overall at Walmart, at Target, everywhere, the quickest way to bring down costs are to end the Trump tariff taxes once and for all. The question, though, is why is a Republican majority in Congress just so weak that they're not willing to stand up for this president or stand up to this president? Freudian slip. Instead, they're standing up for this president and against the American consumer.
From beef, which is a humongous issue that I think the president used to be really good, Congressman, at kind of gauging how people who voted for him would behave, right? Like what would really piss them off? What are the things that he could say to make them feel better? And it feels like with farmers and ranchers, he continues to say the wrong thing. Right. My full transparency, my father-in-law is a rancher, I think 5th generation in South Dakota. And so, I never thought I'd know as much as I do about how small beef operations work. And I think people don't understand that the majority of places and folks that are ranchers, these aren't the big places that have thousands and thousands of cows. Or places that have 200, 300 cows and maybe one person like my father-in-law who actually deals with it. Do you think this is an opportunity for Democrats to take those folks who have been upset, maybe some of them who have voted for Donald Trump and Republicans in the past, and take that ire and make them vote for Democrats? What are the policies that can make that happen?
It's an opportunity for Democrats, but also it is, on the other hand, a threat that this administration could get even worse in terms of its anti-immigration rhetoric and actions. So in terms of an opportunity for us, we need to be laser focused on bringing down costs for the American people. I'm the lead Democrat, as you know, on the Budget Committee. This is entirely what I've been working on for the last several years now. That is going to be my top priority if I get that gavel after November and become chairman of the committee. Unfortunately, this Republican Congress has only made costs even more expensive for the American people, especially in the area of health care. But I alluded at the beginning of my answer to the threat. I am very concerned that Donald Trump will continue to follow the autocrat's handbook, which is, as the economy gets worse, distract people by something else, by finding a group to demonize and blame. And so I think we also have to be wary that in the next couple of months, as we get closer to the election, this administration will get even more aggressive as it relates to ICE and what they call the crackdown on illegals, but so far has really hurt so many communities across this nation.
And Congressman, I do want to stay on the high prices that Americans are dealing with right now, because I think it's sort of hard to reconcile how anything and any policy on the Democratic side or the Republican side are going to actually be able to lower prices without an end to the war in Iran. But the administration, despite all of the rhetoric that the economy and what Americans are dealing with right now is a hoax, they are doing some ad hoc policy fixes here and there. One of the other things that they recently announced was getting rid of anti-smog requirements. This usually allows, in America at least, to switch to a summer gasoline blend to prevent smog from happening. That usually lasts until September 15th. But now what they have announced is essentially a lift on those blends. Is that something that Democrats support? I mean, I just want to get into a little bit of more of the nitty gritty about what do Democrats support in the interim before the war can come to an end to actually lower these U.S. average gas prices, which as of today are at $4.10 a gallon.
Yeah, I would point out, actually, gas prices are higher today, this late into the calendar, than at any other point in American history. Even before, when we've seen high gas prices, typically by the second half of the year, they have come down, that summer surge being over. So this is truly historic for all the wrong reasons. But I do want to just take issue with one thing you said. There's no question that this reckless, idiotic Trump started Iran war has driven up costs at the pump and increased costs in other areas even more. But let's not forget, from the moment that Donald Trump announced his absurdly named Liberation Day, that's when inflation that had been coming down month after month through the course of 2024 and the first couple months of 2025, that's when inflation started to turn around and be made great again, going in the increased direction as opposed to decreasing. It was from about April of 2025 right up until this year that we saw costs going up because of those Trump tariff taxes placed on over more than 90 nations and the reciprocal taxes that many placed on us. So yes, the Iran war, reckless, stupid. He doesn't know how to get out of it, has absolutely no plan. It has made us weaker. It has hurt the American consumer, but it didn't just start with this Iran war. It started with the Trump tariff tax policy that has been a disaster.